Hello guys, in this video we're going to configure the IPv4 and IPv6 interfaces. So this is your first chapter in module 1, routing concepts. This is one of the experiment. Now we'll be configuring the table that is given here. So it has two parts. One is configuring of IPv4 addressing. The other part is configuring of IPv6 addressing. As you can see here, your as you can see here in your table, here both the IPv4 as well as IPv6 address. So this part is your IP version 4 address and this part is your IP version 6 address. We are going to see both of them. Okay, so the left part is R1. So first we will configure the router R1 interface. Okay, so click on R1. Okay, and as you can see, there are three interfaces to be configured for R1. It is G0 bar 0, 0 bar 1 and C0 0 bar 0 bar 0. Okay, so first we'll check the interfaces of R1. So it has password for user as well as privileged mode. The password is Cisco. It's actually given here. Okay, and the privileged execution password is class. Okay, click on type enable and then put class as password. Now I'm into the privileged mode. Okay, now I will see what are the interfaces present and what are all configured already. So 0 bar 0 is not configured, 0 bar 1 is not configured, and 0 bar 0 bar 0 is configured. So I have to configure two interfaces, 0 bar 0 as well as 0 bar 1. So I'll go to the configure terminal and then enter interface G0/0 and then enter the command, which is IP address. The IP address is 172.16.20.1 and the default subnet mask is 255.255.128. So you have to type it here. So it is 172.16.20.1 space 255.255.255.128 and then it is no shut. Okay, similarly you have to configure interface G0/1. Okay, I'm going to press the upper arrow here, which will give me the previous command, so it will be easier for me to configure. So it is IP address is 170.16. It is 129 and then it is the same subnet mask. Okay, so enter and then similarly I can type no shut. So now I'll go again to the interface. So do show IP interface brief. As you can see, I'm using the do command here in front of this show because we are in the configuration mode, not in the privileged mode. So if you're in the configuration mode, you have to use the do command. Do show IP interface brief. Enter. You can see that all the interfaces are configured and similarly the status is up. So we have completed for the R1 router. Now it is time to configure the IP configurations of PC1 as well as PC2. So I'll click on PC1, enter the IP configuration, and as you can see, the first part is your IPv4 and this is version 4 and this is your version 6. Okay, now for version 4, the IP4 address is given in this table as 172.16.20.10. So it is 172.16.20.10 and the subnet mask is, you have to change it, 255.255.128 and then the default gateway is 172.16.20.1. I hope you remember how the default gateway works. Okay, we'll go to the table here. You can see the PC1 is connected to the one of the interfaces of R1, which in this case is G0 bar 0, and the 0 bar 0's IP address is 172.16.20.1, which will be the default gateway for your PC1. Okay, so this is the default gateway for PC1. Now why we are putting default gateway as 20.1? Because it is the IP address of G0/0. Similarly for PC2 also, you can see it is connected to G0 bar 1 interface, okay, which is has the IP address of .129, which will be the default gateway of this PC2. Okay, right. So now I'll configure it for PC2. So PC2 it will be IP configuration. So it is 172.16.20.138 and then it is 255.255.255.128 again. Subnet mask is same and the IP address will be in default gateway will be 16.20.129. So it's for which I will have given the explanation. Okay, now we have to close this. Now we have configured this part. Now what we have to do is we have to configure the R2 part. So once you have configured, you can see that this has changed to green. You can see from the beginning it was actually red like this. Now it has changed to green. Okay, which means the connections are working fine. Now we'll go to R2, which is your part 2 of the exercise. So for R2, everything is in IP version 6. So I'll click on R2, Command R. Okay, the same passwords apply here also. So it is Cisco and then enable class. Okay, so to view the interfaces of IPv6, so it is show IPv6 interface brief. As you can see, the link local addresses are configured already. Link local addresses are used to communicate within the network, which will be default gateway in this case. I'll show you how it works. And your serial 0 bar 0 bar 1 interface is already configured. Now what we have to configure is G 0 bar 0 and 0 bar 1. Okay, so we'll do one by one. So what is the IP address of G0 bar 0? It is this one. So we have to first go to the configure terminal, configuration mode. Now we have to type interface G0/0, which we are entering the interface G0/0, and then you have to type IPv6 address. So instead of just IP address, so here it is IPv6 address. To indicate the address that follows here is a IPv6 address. So it is 2001:db8 C0DE:12. So actually I typed it wrong. So it is db8 C0DE:12 1/64. It's actually the combination of using shift key. So that gives you those characters. Okay, so be careful when typing that. So 2001 db8 C0DE:12 1/64. You have to include the subnet mask here itself. Okay, and then it is no shut. Right. So we have configured one interface. To configure another interface, I've just changed it to G0/1 using the upper key. Okay, to get the history, and I can change this to be just 13. Okay, which will give me the new IP address. Okay, like here. Right. So it is no shell. Okay. Now similarly, we have to configure the link local address. So link local address is already configured. In this case, we don't have to do anything because you can see the link local address is already configured. But if you want to configure the link local address, there is a command like this. So it is IPv6 address. Okay, the link local address is fe80:2 space link hyphen local. Okay, so this has to be done inside an interface. So I'm actually doing it for interface G0/1. Since we are in that interface, I'm doing it for this one. Okay. Okay, similarly, if I have to do it for interface G0/0, I have to go to that interface and then I have to type this command. Okay, you cannot type this link local address in the outside the interface. For example, if I come outside the interface, I'm in the general configuration terminal, I cannot put the link local for the router. If I do this, okay, it will show me an error. Okay, which means remember that the link local address should be inside an interface. Okay, right. So we're done for the router. Now we can actually see what is actually the interface addresses. So do show IPv6 interface brief. As you can see, all the addresses are configured and then the status is up. Okay, now we'll configure for PC3 as well as PC4. So for PC3, you have to go to desktop, IP configuration. You should not touch this part, but this part. So it is 2001 db8 C0DE:12 /64. 64 should be typed separately, and then you have to come to the default gateway. Don't touch this one, link local address. It is automatically generated by it. Okay, and you have not been told to change the link local address for PC3 and PC4. Okay, so it is not necessary. So default gateway will be FE80:2. Okay, so you can see clearly the default gateway is not the interface's IP address. Okay, we are giving a link local address. Okay, so see here the table, right? So the PC3 is, okay, IP default gateway is nothing but your link local address. Okay, so link local address is actually given same for both C0 bar 0 and 0 bar 1. So link local address for these two, sorry, the default gateway for these two is also the same. Okay, now I'll copy this and paste it in the PC4's IPv6 address. So it will be here, PC4's IPv6, but we have to change that to 13/64, and the same link local address FE80 should be in the default gateway, FE80 double colon. Okay, so we have done for both. So we have done for both PC3 as well as for PC4. Okay, now the last part remains, which is to verify the connectivity between PC3 and and the dual stack server. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to check from ping from PC1 to dual stack server, but I can ping only using version 4 IP address because I've configured version 4. So I can do this only with this address. Okay, for this part. Similarly, if I'm going to do for PC3, I have to ping for the version 6 IPv6 address. Okay, because I've used version 6. Okay, right. So from PC1, I'll go to the command prompt and ping the dual stack server's IP address, IPv4 address. It is 64.100.1.10. If everything is properly configured, it will try to ping, and the first request will probably time out because of the ARP, and second, third, and fourth will come properly because I know the mapping from between the MAC address and IP address. So ARP is already taken for you, so I think you understand what is ARP, why the first request is timing out. Now this works, so we have done the version 4 part correctly. We'll see if version 6 part is done correctly. So from PC3, I'll go to the command prompt and then I'll try to ping 2001 TB8 100:1 double colon 8. Okay, as you can see, it is actually replying properly. And if something actually ARP for IPv6 is not applicable, now you have to study in depth for this. Okay, so here you don't have a request timeout, but you have a direct reply from the IPv6. So the connection is working properly, and you have your reply. Okay, so that's it. We have now what we have done in this experiment is we have configured the IPv4 and IPv6 addresses for these networks individually, and then we have verified the connectivity. Thank you.